Hello, welcome to Native Yoga Center. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and today I want to show you tips and tricks on how to lift up into shoulder stand. So a couple of things I'd like to cover before we begin, though, is that the main thing that you need to become aware of before you start practicing shoulder stand is, do you have any neck pain or a history of neck displacement? Have you ever had like a whiplash injury? Have you ever had any spinal fusion? Have you had any herniations or neck injury? If that's the case, I suggest don't do shoulder stand right now. Watch the video, see if you can pick up some tips and tricks. The main thing I'll give for those of you that do have a challenge with the neck, one good way to practice shoulder stand is to just lay on the back, legs vertical, and hold here. That way you won't have any excessive pressure on your neck and you'll be safe and sound. All right, the next challenge that I often see a lot of us have when we're lifting up into shoulder stand is the ability or lack of ability to create the lift of the legs above the head. So this is primarily hamstring stretch, because if I'm really tight here, my legs won't go like this. This is as far as my legs will go. And I go to push down with my hands on the floor. It is next to not possible to get the legs to come up into the air. And we'll see that we'll get stuck right here. So this is a challenge in the shoulder stand. And one way to start to be able to get some leverage to be able to lift up into the shoulder stand is to use a prop. Excuse me, you can use a chair or you can use the wall. In this case, I'll use the chair so I can set up sideways to the camera and you can see. All right, so the main thing though is to make sure that you have a chair that is really stable, that will not slide on the ground. Like I have the chair on the yoga mat because the chair over here will slide really easy. So if you do choose to use a chair, it needs to be a chair that when you push against it, it won't topple over and it won't slide. So the main idea is to come down close to the chair and to begin by placing your feet onto the chair. And another key ingredient with shoulder stand is, what I'm going to suggest is watch this tutorial first, then try to do it, because you don't want to be having flexion in a state of flexion with your neck pulled in and rotate your head at the same time. So the main idea with the shoulder stand is that you're going to be balancing on the posterior edge of your shoulder blades and your scapula. And so you're going to be holding in a state where your neck is nice and deep in this sort of angle. And so while you're in this angle, you don't want to have pressure on it and rotate your head. So that's very important. So again, we test, we find out, do we have any neck instability? Are you able to, move your head around without any pain? If so, but you're still having a hard time getting up, then what you can do is place your feet on the chair, or just imagine the chair as a wall. You can put your feet on the wall, same thing. And so what we'll begin with is first just starting to use the arms to push down. So you're going to be pressing with your arms down against the floor. When your shoulders go this way, this is called shoulder flexion. When your arms go down this way, it's called shoulder extension. If we were to take the arm back behind us. So what we're doing is we're contracting the musculature to go into shoulder extension. So in the beginning though, I'm going to use the help of the chair to be able to push down and lift my hips up. And so this is one way to start to initiate the ability to start to actually get the hips up in the air and to be able to feel like maybe we could get up into the shoulder stand. So an appropriate way to start learning the shoulder stand, in my opinion, is to push down and just hold here and start breathing. Inhale and exhale. Now what you'll notice is that this pose is very similar to the bridge pose. When we do bridge pose, we push our feet down and we lift up. So now what we're doing is we're starting to try to get the body to go above. We're trying to get the hips above the shoulders. And once we get the hips above high enough, it'll be a lot easier to stay balanced up there. Now, another element with the shoulder stand is once we're able to get the legs up relatively high, that we're going to start to use our elbows, bending, elbow flexion, to keep our hips up there. For example, we'll start off by pushing down with the hands into the floor. Now notice I can even use my hands on the chair to hold it in place so I can get a good strong press to lift up. And once I get up and I feel stable, I start to take my hands and put my hands onto the lower back. So basically all that's happening is you're bending your elbows and putting your hands on your lower back. Notice I'm not turning my head to talk to you. I'm keeping my chin tucked, and I'm going to use my hands. And eventually what we can do is start to take one leg off of the chair or the wall. And once you get the weight of the one leg high enough, you're able to bring your other leg up, in which case you can actually lift into the shoulder stand. So part of the idea of coming down, I'm going to take the one leg above the head, slowly lower until I find the chair, because don't forget the chair is there. So I just got to come down. Where's the chair? There it is. And then you take your other leg and you bring it down, and then you can move your hands out of the way and lower your hips back down. So granted, is it a little easier said than done? It is, because I have the range of motion to be able to do it, to demonstrate it to you. However, when you're brand new, because I get a chance to work with students all the time, different ability levels, tall, not as tall, flexible, not as flexible. So what I notice is that getting that first momentum up is really the challenging part. So using the chair. Now, the other key ingredient to having success in shoulder stand is the ability to fold over your legs. So the more that you work your yoga practice in the way that you start to build this flexibility in the flexion motion at your hips, loosening up the hamstrings, then we see that translate into the ability to lift the legs, to get the weight above higher onto the hips. So remember, I get my hands on my low back, I take one leg off the chair. Now, maybe I don't go any further than this. We might just work one leg at a time. But part of the idea is that if you can get your leg far enough up, you can use the weight of the leg above to counterweight the other foot up, so you can take your legs up into the shoulder stand. Now, there's a whole bunch of information we can go down the track of shoulder stand, but the main thing I want to focus on this video today is learning how to actually get up to the point where we can balance with our hands onto our lower back. Remember, anytime you're trying anything new, exercise caution. Make sure maybe you have somebody spot you, someone at home that can help. The other key ingredient that I really want to make sure that you're familiar with is what I mentioned at the start, is don't turn your head while you're up in it. And the whole time you're working, make sure you feel or get a sense of, does my neck feel good? If the answer is no, this hurts while I'm doing it, that is your body telling you you got to do something different. So let me just take this a step further. One thing you can do, which is a classic technique used in Iyengar yoga, but in restorative yoga and yoga therapy, is that we'll use a blanket underneath our shoulders, because one of the challenges of being able to get up in the shoulder stand is, well, if we elevate the shoulders a little higher, then the neck doesn't have to bend as much. So what I've done is I've taken a blanket, I folded it up, I put it on the yoga mat, and I'm going to come down. It takes a little bit of finagling to get the proper setup. So I got myself where I think I need to be with the chair. And what I want to do is have my head right off the edge of the blanket. So notice the blanket is right under my neck at my shoulders, but my head is touching the ground. And so then when I go to lift up, it does require a little more lifting energy to get up into it. But once you're able to get your legs, hands in position, and your leg up, it's a little easier to keep your balance once you're up here. When I'm up here, there's a lot less pressure on my neck. I have the ability to use the blanket as a little bit of cushion under the shoulders. And so it actually makes holding here much easier, but what you have to be careful of is, like, you actually want to tip this way. It'll push you this way. So when you put something underneath your shoulders, be aware that it does It makes it a little harder to get up into it, but it makes it a little bit easier to continue to hold it. And one thing I would do differently than what I was just demonstrating, once I got up there, I was thinking to myself, this isn't working so good, is I got to make sure that my arms have a flat surface to go on. Where I was before, I had my arms off of the rug, so it's going to be a little easier now. When I go to do it, I can put my arms completely shoulder to elbow down on the rug. So let me try it again. I'm not as high, so the effect won't be as pronounced. However, once I push down, I get my hands in place, and then take one leg up and the other leg up, and then you can bring your legs together and practice holding in the Sarvangasana shoulder stand. Sarva means all, and anga means limbs. So the all limbs pose is referencing the shoulder stand. And hopefully these tips and tricks can help you out next time you're practicing shoulder stand. Use the wall, use a chair, use a blanket. Seek professional advice. Find a professional yoga teacher that's been doing this for a long time, that knows what they're doing, and or come to our channel, Native Yoga Center. Remember to hit the subscribe button. And every Thursday I offer tutorials. If you ever have any specific questions, I like to answer questions, so send them my way. info@nativeyogacenter.com. Check us out on our website, nativeyogacenter.com. And I look forward to having the chance to interact and work with you. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, namaste.